This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, April 11th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. White House officials are mum on the prospects of a recession, even as talk of an economic downturn increasingly dominates the political conversation in D.C. and on Wall Street. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki admitted that soaring inflation was a concern, but said the White House is confident it can reduce costs without any undue impact on the economy. Harris Alec reports that's the opposite of what economists are saying. They point to the Federal Reserve's efforts to lower inflation by raising interest rates and note that the economy appears primed to enter a tailspin. COVID-19 infections within President Biden's circle are becoming a daily occurrence, but the White House is forging ahead with business as usual. Tom Howe reports the president's staff is leaning heavily on Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidance that eased mask wearing and set a limited definition of who might be a close contact of the president or vice president. The recent Gridiron Club dinner contributed to increasing the virus's spread among Washington officials, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. White House aides and lawmakers haven't seen bad outcomes from the virus, only reporting mild symptoms while having to self-isolate for at least 5 days. Landlords nationwide are booting out more tenants who haven't paid their monthly rent since the pandemic started, but legal challenges are slowing them down in some places. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's moratorium on evictions ended last July 31st. But Sean Salai reports lawsuits continue to flood state and local courts as tenants complain of price gouging and rent increases. The number of evictions is ticking up as landlords push renters to pay back what they owe on monthly payments stretching back up to 2 years. And since home prices have driven more Americans into the affordable rental market, the pressure on landlords to evict non-paying tenants is growing. A reminder that you can find all these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. If you don't have access to the Times yet, you can visit WashingtonTimes.com/George for a special subscription offer. China's propaganda and disinformation operations are actively promoting pro-Russian narratives about the invasion of Ukraine, according to the State Department. Bill Gertz reports the department's Global Engagement Center is leading U.S. efforts to expose foreign propaganda, including Chinese state media reports and official statements that falsely claim the Pentagon is developing biological weapons in Ukraine. Chinese state media has regularly reported the laboratories were engaged in biological weapons work. That disinformation has also been repeated by some conservative media outlets here in the United States. And finally, 6 weeks into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the overall competency of its military is suddenly in doubt, and its perceived spot near the top of the 21st century global pecking order is being reassessed. Ben Wolfgang breaks down how the world should rethink the Russians as a military power in light of them being stymied by Ukrainian forces. Russian President Vladimir Putin faces even deeper, more fundamental questions, including doubts about whether his country's hybrid war doctrine and vaunted disinformation campaigns are as devastating as originally feared. Putin's apparent disregard for the lives of Ukrainian civilians adds even more urgency to those questions, which are especially prevalent in Eastern Europe. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us on any major podcast platform. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.